Imagine waking up to the sky on fire, the ground trembling beneath your feet, oceans boiling, forests collapsing, and the air itself turning toxic. Now, picture this. Not once, but many times in its 4.5 billion year history, Earth has stood on the edge of absolute annihilation. Entire species vanished overnight. Mountains melted, seas turned to deserts. The planet we call home came within seconds of total collapse. And yet, somehow it survived. But what if I told you the same forces that almost destroyed Earth are still out there waiting? This is the untold story of Earth's forgotten catastrophes, the moments when our planet nearly died. Asterisks, for billions of years, Earth has been a battlefield between creation and destruction. Asteroids the size of mountains have collided with its surface, shattering worlds before life even had a chance to breathe. Supervolcanoes erupted with the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs, drowning continents in fire and ash. Ice gripped the planet in an endless winter, turning oceans into frozen wastelands. Each catastrophe pushed life to the edge of extinction, and each time, Earth fought back. This is not just history written in rocks and fossils. It is a story of survival, a tale etched in fire, water, and stone. To understand the world we live in today, we must journey back into the planet's darkest hours, when Earth itself almost died. Asterisk, before we uncover Earth's darkest secrets. Take a moment to join us on this journey. Subscribe to the channel now, so you never miss the hidden chapters of our planet's untold story. Because what comes next will change the way you see Earth forever. It begins with silence, a clear sky, a calm sea, a normal day that seemed no different from the last. And then, without warning, a flash brighter than the sun rips across the horizon. A rock from a void, older than Earth itself, tears through the atmosphere with the force of millions of atomic bombs. In a single heartbeat, everything changes. Asteroids are not just distant rocks floating harmlessly in space. They are relics from the birth of the solar system, fragments of creation that never found a home. For billions of years, they have wandered through the darkness like cosmic assassins, waiting for chance or fate to guide their path toward Earth. When one finally collides, it does not come gently. It comes as a destroyer. 66 million years ago, one such visitor, roughly the size of a city, slammed into the Gulf of Mexico. It carved out the Chicxulub crater, a wound more than 90 miles wide. The impact released an energy greater than the world's combined nuclear arsenal. The blast was so powerful that it vaporized rock, ignited forests across continents, and launched billions of tons of debris into the skies. Within minutes, firestorms swept the globe. Animals screamed and fled, but there was nowhere to hide. Day turned to night, and in that long night, the age of the dinosaurs ended. But here's the twist. The dinosaurs were not the first victims of the sky. The history of Earth tells us of earlier strikes, each one rewriting the story of life. More than 2 billion years ago, another massive impact near present-day South Africa gouged out what we now call the Vredefort crater. It was more than double the size of the Chicxulub event. That ancient strike shattered continents and may have altered the planet's climate for centuries. Even before complex life had evolved, the Earth was already scarred by blows from the heavens, and the scars kept coming. Roughly 35 million years ago, an asteroid left behind the Chesapeake Bay crater in North America. Imagine walls of water taller than skyscrapers rushing across entire coastlines, drowning ancient forests and erasing landscapes forever. To any living thing that stood in its path, it was the end of the world. These forgotten catastrophes remind us that our planet's survival has always been fragile, always balanced on the edge of chance. What makes these impacts so devastating is not only the size of the rock, but the chain reaction they trigger. The force of collision throws dust and ash into the atmosphere, blocking out sunlight. Photosynthesis halts. Crops fail. Food chains collapse. The Earth enters a deadly winter, one that can last for months, even years. Then, as the dust clears, the greenhouse gases released by burning rock and oceans push the planet into the opposite extreme, a sudden fever heat. Life is squeezed between fire and ice, between famine and flood. Entire species vanish without a trace. When we look at the fossil record, we see these sudden disappearances as sharp lines, moments where time itself seems to stop. And at those lines, we find the fingerprints of the sky, Tiny beads of glass formed by vaporized rock, rare elements like iridium, scattered like cosmic breadcrumbs. They tell us the same story. Something from beyond struck Earth, and nothing was ever the same again. And yet, for every story of destruction, there is also a story of survival. The end of the dinosaurs made way for mammals. The devastation of one world cleared the path for another. Without that single impact 66 million years ago, humans might never have had the chance to exist at all. We are here because Earth survived the killers from space. Barely. But here's the question that should keep us awake at night. Could it happen again? The truth is, it already has. Smaller impacts have been recorded in human history. In 1908, over the forests of Siberia, an explosion flattened nearly 80 million trees in a matter of seconds. Scientists believe it was caused by a space rock no larger than a house. If it had struck just a few hours later, the city of St. Petersburg might have been erased from the map. Today, we track thousands of near-Earth objects racing around the sun. Some are harmless. Others pass within cosmic inches of our planet. And every once in a while, astronomers sound an alarm, because one of these objects, even a relatively small one, could still unleash devastation we can barely imagine. So when we look up at the stars, we are not just gazing into beauty. We are looking at a sky filled with memories of past destruction and warnings of dangers yet to come. Earth has survived countless collisions, but each survival has left scars. Scars that whisper a chilling truth. The killers in the sky have never gone away. They are still out there. And one day, one of them may come back. Asterisk. If asteroids are killers in the sky, then volcanoes are the assassins beneath our feet. They don't fall without warning from the heavens. They rise from within, building pressure slowly, quietly, until the Earth itself can no longer contain the fury boiling inside. And when they strike, the destruction is as swift and merciless as any rock from space. Volcanoes are as old as the planet. From the moment Earth's crust cooled after its fiery birth, molten rivers of magma forced their way to the surface, shaping continents and building islands. But most eruptions we think of, the ones that spill lava down mountainsides or send smoke columns into the air, are small compared to the monsters hidden deep underground. These are supervolcanoes, and when they erupt, the scale of destruction is beyond imagination. One of the most infamous examples lies beneath what is now Yellowstone National Park in the United States. To millions of tourists, Yellowstone is a wonderland of geysers, hot springs, and bubbling mud pots. But all of these are whispers of something far more dangerous, an enormous chamber of magma stretching for miles. This is not an ordinary volcano. It is a supervolcano, and it has erupted before, 3 times in the last 2 million years. Each eruption was thousands of times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. If it were to erupt again today, large parts of North America would be buried under ash. Crops would fail worldwide. The sun would dim. Billions could starve. But Yellowstone is only one chapter in this terrifying story. Around 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in what is now Indonesia exploded with a force so great that it nearly wiped humanity off the map. The eruption hurled ash and gases into the sky, spreading across continents. Temperatures plummeted. Some scientists believe that the human population shrank to just a few thousand survivors, clinging to life in small pockets of the world. If true, every person alive today could be descended from those few who endured that ancient winter of fire and ash. And then there are the Siberian traps, one of the greatest volcanic events in Earth's history. About 252 million years ago, long before the dinosaurs, a series of massive eruptions tore open the land in what is now Russia. Rivers of lava flowed for thousands of miles, releasing toxic gases into the air. The skies turned dark. Oceans became poisoned with acid. More than 90% of species vanished in what scientists call the Great Dying. It was the most devastating extinction event our planet has ever faced, and it was triggered not by an asteroid, but by fire from within. These eruptions do more than scorch the surface. They transform the climate itself. When supervolcanoes erupt, they pump sulfur dioxide and ash high into the atmosphere. Sunlight struggles to break through. The world cools, crops wither, and famine spreads. And when the skies finally clear, greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide linger, trapping heat and pushing the planet into violent swings between cold and unbearable heat. Life is caught in the middle, struggling to adapt and often failing. What makes this even more unsettling is that volcanoes are still with us, still restless, still alive. We can study their patterns, measure their gases, and watch their tremors, but predicting the exact moment of a supervolcano's eruption remains almost impossible. In 1815, long before the technology we rely on today, Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted with catastrophic force. The explosion was so loud it was heard over 1,000 miles away. Ash blanketed the skies, and the following year became known as the year without a summer. Crops failed in Europe, famine spread, and people starved, not from the fire or lava, but from the cold that followed. Stories like these remind us that volcanic power is not locked in the ancient past. It is a living force, one that could awaken again without warning. Humanity has always tried to live with volcanoes, building cities in their shadows, farming on their fertile soils, marveling at their beauty. But beneath that beauty lies a sleeping giant. The most unsettling truth is that Earth does not need an asteroid to end civilizations. It can destroy from within. Every mountain range, every hot spring, every rumbling tremor is a reminder that we live on a restless planet. A thin crust separates us from oceans of fire, and every so often, the Earth itself rises in anger. Survival after such events is never guaranteed. Yet time and again, life has found a way to endure. When the skies darkened after Toba, small bands of humans found refuge. When the great dying swept across the seas and continents, tiny ancestors of creatures we know today clung to survival in hidden corners. Life was reduced to whispers, but those whispers were enough to rebuild the world. Still, the question remains, are we prepared if it happens again? Technology gives us early warnings, but no weapon, no machine could stop a supervolcano once it begins to roar. It would not simply be a regional disaster. It would be a global event, reshaping climate, killing crops, and collapsing economies in a world as connected as ours. Even a single eruption of the scale of Toba or Yellowstone could bring modern civilization to its knees. The earth beneath us is far from stable. It breathes, it shifts, and sometimes it burns. And though asteroids may capture our imagination, the truth is that the greatest danger may already lie beneath our own feet. Fire has nearly ended life before, and it may one day rise again. Asterisk. Now imagine a world where oceans freeze, where deserts turn to snow, and where ice stretches from one pole to the other. A planet wrapped in silence, its lands buried under white, its seas locked beneath miles of frozen sheets. This is not science fiction. It is Earth caught in the grip of ice. Throughout its long history, Earth has swung between extremes of heat and cold. These frozen ages are not gentle winters. They are eras of survival, pushing life to its absolute limits. One of the most dramatic of these events is known as Snowball Earth. Scientists believe that more than 600 million years ago, ice may have covered nearly the entire planet. Oceans were sealed under frozen caps. Sunlight reflected off the bright surface, trapping the planet in a vicious cycle of cold. Life, already fragile and primitive, was reduced to hidden pockets of survival. Tiny organisms clung to volcanic vents beneath the seas, or sheltered in thin cracks of ice where liquid water still flowed. For millions of years, Earth was locked in this frozen prison. But ice, like fire, is not permanent. Slowly, volcanic activity released carbon dioxide into the air, warming the atmosphere just enough to break the cycle. When the planet finally thawed, it did so with fury. Glaciers retreated, oceans rose, and suddenly, conditions changed in ways that may have triggered the first explosion of complex life. In other words, the Great Freeze nearly ended life, but it may also have set the stage for the birth of new worlds of creatures. Ice ages did not disappear with Snowball Earth. They returned again and again, shaping the destiny of life and even humanity itself. The most recent began about 2.6 million years ago and only ended roughly 12,000 years ago. A blink of an eye in cosmic terms. During this period, massive glaciers advanced and retreated across continents, carving valleys, shaping rivers, and leaving behind the landscapes we recognize today. For humans, the Ice Age was both a curse and a test. Our ancestors walked the earth alongside mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant sloths. They hunted, they adapted, and they endured the cold. Fire was not just comfort, it was survival. Shelters were carved into caves, clothing stitched from animal hides, and tools fashioned from stone. The cold forced humans to innovate or perish. It drove migration across continents, from Africa into Europe, Asia, and eventually the Americas. Ice, though merciless, shaped the path that led to modern civilization. But the Ice Age also brought catastrophe. Vast ice sheets expanded over North America and Eurasia, locking up so much water that sea levels dropped by hundreds of feet. Entire coastlines vanished and land bridges opened, allowing species to move into new worlds. Yet when the ice melted, the seas returned with equal force, swallowing land and reshaping maps forever. Ancient coastal communities may have drowned beneath the rising tides, their stories lost in myth. Some legends of great floods passed down through cultures could be distant echoes of these ancient changes. The end of the last ice age was violent. Melting glaciers unleashed torrents of water, creating massive floods that ripped through valleys. Entire lakes, held back by walls of ice, burst in an instant, scouring the land with unimaginable force. Species that had thrived in the cold disappeared. Mammoths, mastodons, and saber-toothed cats vanished into extinction, leaving behind only bones buried in frozen soil. And yet, just like the survivors of asteroid strikes and volcanic winters, humanity endured. The shifting climate forced people to farm, to settle, and to create societies that could withstand changing conditions. Without the challenge of the Ice Age, human history might have followed an entirely different path. But what makes this story most unsettling is that the age of ice is not truly gone. The glaciers of Greenland and Antarctica are all that remain of that frozen world, and they still hold enough ice to raise sea levels dramatically if they melt. History warns us that climate can swing with shocking speed. A few degrees can decide the fate of species, even civilizations. The record of Earth's frozen ages is a reminder that our planet is never fixed. It shifts, it changes, and sometimes it freezes. Life has survived, but never without cost. Each wave of ice has carved scars into the land and into the story of humanity itself. The question is not whether Earth will change again. It is when and how we will face it. For every catastrophe, asteroid, fire, or ice, the story of Earth has been one of destruction and survival, loss and rebirth. These frozen ages remind us of just how thin the line between survival and extinction truly is. The world we live in today, with its cities, its warmth, and its fragile balance, is only possible because countless generations before us survived the cold. But as history whispers, the ice can return. And if it does, the struggle to survive may once again define the destiny of Earth's children. Asterisk. Earth has faced fire, ice, and stone from the heavens, and against all odds it survived. But survival comes at a cost, and not every secret has been revealed. Beneath the oceans buried in rock and time lies a mystery far older than humanity itself. A secret that could rewrite everything we think we know about the beginning of life. And in our next chapter, we will ask the question no one dares to face. Where did life on Earth truly begin?